Mangwana ni mwalelepo vukenjani kekos vanawe Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, the news and current affairs show bringing you everything you need to know happening in the SADC region and beyond. Today is a Friday.
Yes,
Finally.
we are so excited. And as if that was not enough, today is also Skyscraper Day. The construction of tall building has become a commonplace in cities around the globe that the general public gives little thought to visionaries who are responsible for creating a city's unique skyline. Skyscrapers, Day provides the opportunity to learn more about the architects who commit a dream to paper and the construction crews that make it a reality. And here is more on that.
You and I getting high together. You and I never mind each other, but you and I couldn't fly forever. You and I think we like each other. You and I getting high together. You and I never mind each other, but you and I couldn't fly forever. Day one, knew you since day one. Used to pick me up in your Honda. Yeah, ride around town just to burn some. With the motive on, earn fun talking ish. We would talk, and the sun was set as we sparked a split. These dreams don't last, so let's get this cash. Big bet, big wins, big stacks, yeah. Let it stack to the ceiling, get broke. Ain't no way we could ever lose.
Today is Friday the 3rd of September and these are today's top stories.
Outcry in Ivory Coast over televised rape demonstration. A TV channel in Ivory Coast has apologized after broadcasting a show in which a man presented as a former rapist explained how he assaulted his victims using a mannequin for the demonstration. The program, broadcasted at the prime time on Monday by a private Nouvelle Chaîne channel, caused a nationwide outcry, including a petition signed by 30,000 people demanding the presenters to be punished. The show saw the host Yves Mbellas hand his guest a mannequin, laughing, helping him lay it on the ground, and asking him to explain details of how he raped his victims. At the end of this demonstration, the man was invited to give women advice to avoid being raped. The petition, addressed to the country's media regulators and the Ministry of Communication and Youth, called for the show to be cancelled and for its presenting team, headed by Yves Mbellas, to be sanctioned. NCI's management apologized on Tuesday, saying it was committed to representing human rights and in particular those of women, and expressing its solidarity with women who are victims of violence and abuse of all kinds.
Truly disturbing news. We need to end rape culture now. In our second story, it unfortunately does not get any better. 3 people beheaded in northern Mozambique. 3 people have been beheaded in a village in Kisanga district in the jihadist-hit northern Mozambican province of Cabo Delgado. The macabre act is believed to be the work of the insurgents linked to the Islamic State group fleeing the ongoing joint operations by Mozambican and Rwandan troops. The incident occurred on Tuesday, but the reasons behind the killings are still unknown, according to media reports. The 3 dismembered bodies are said to have been found by villagers in the morning. They also reported seeing a vehicle without a number plate moving around. The beheadings come at a time when a sense of calm and security seems to be returning to many districts in Cabo Delgado as a result of the military operations. The jihadists have been blamed for several mass beheadings since they began their insurgency in 2017.
In DRC, 4 people were killed in an attack attributed to rebel group. At least 4 people died today on the road in Ituri, in the northeast of the Democratic Republic of Congo, in an attack attributed to the Armed Allied Democratic Forces, which also set a dozen of vehicles on fire. An attack took place this morning on the National Road 4 near Ofai. More than a dozen vehicles were set on fire. The final balance is not yet known, wrote Kivu's Safety Barometer experts on social platform Twitter, adding that the ADF are suspicious. Cited by Agence France Presse, the spokesperson for military operations in Ituri, Jules Ngongo, said ADF killed 4 people, one of whom was found burned in one of the 13 vehicles that were set on fire by the rebels.
In our next story, WHO says no evidence Ivory Coast patient had Ebola. There is no evidence that a Guinean woman who tested positive for Ebola after arriving in neighboring Ivory Coast had the disease, the World Health Organization says, citing a new analysis from a lab in France. Her diagnosis in mid-August was thought to be the first confirmed case of Ebola in the West African country since 1994. The diagnosis sparked a huge contact tracing operation by the WHO, and Ivorian medics started a vaccination campaign targeting those who were in immediate contact with the woman. The case sparked a row between the two countries after Guinea requested reconfirmation of her positive test, pushing Ivorian officials to defend the diagnosis. Ebola, which is transmitted through close contact with bodily fluids, is a fatal viral disease that causes severe fever and, in the worst cases, unstoppable bleeding.
Over 7.8 million cases of COVID-19 confirmed across the continent. As of the 1st of September, confirmed cases of COVID-19 from 55 African countries reach over 7.5 million, while over 66.7 vaccinations have been administered across the continent. Reported deaths in Africa reach over 196,000 and 6.9 million people have recovered. South Africa has the most reported cases of over 2.7 million and over 82,000 people have died. Other most affected countries are Morocco, Tunisia, Libya, Egypt, Ethiopia, and Kenya. The numbers are compiled by the Center for System Science and Engineering at Johns Hopkins University using statistics from the World Health Organization and other international institutions, as well as national and regional public health departments.
Next up, another 73 abducted students in Nigeria. Gunmen abducted 73 more students from a high school in Zamfara State in northwestern Nigeria on Wednesday, Nigerian police announced. The Zamfara State Police Command wants to confirm the abduction of 73 students from the government day secondary school in Kaya in the local government area of Maradun. Between 27 and 28 August, the release of 140 students and staff who have been kidnapped in the 3 school abductions in the states of Zamfara, Kaduna, and Niger had been announced. But a wave of mass kidnappings has taken place in recent months in northern, central, and northwestern Nigeria by groups of armed men who are also involved in cattle raids seeking to obtain lucrative ransoms.
Top cop arrested, implicated in OK store burning, and this is in Eswatini. The National Commissioner of Police, William Dlamini, is shaken at reports that a senior police officer is implicated in burning the OK food store in Matsapa. According to a highly placed source, the officer who holds the position of senior superintendent appeared in CCTV footage using explosives to bomb the shop. The officer has since been arrested. It was gathered that the officer, who will not be named for now, works for the Operation Support Service Unit.
All right, in Botswana, Assistant Health Minister Lelati Sitwe suspended for violating COVID-19 protocols. President Mokgweetsi Masisi has suspended Assistant Minister of Health and Wellness Setomo Lelati Sitwe for violating COVID-19 regulations. Statement from Office of the President issued this evening read, "The public is informed that the President Mokgweetsi Masisi has taken the decision to suspend the Assistant Minister of Health and Wellness Setomo Lelati Sitwe from his ministerial duties for a period of 1 month effective immediately." Yesterday, Letakane police charged Lelati Sitwe's family member following the unveiling of a tombstone over the weekend. Lelati Sitwe made a public apology for putting up images of the event on his social media.
Soon, security surveillance drones in the city of Kinshasa. In a few weeks, 3 municipalities in the city will benefit from surveillance drones as part of the fight against insecurity in Kinshasa. The provincial government of the city of Kinshasa is moving up a gear by acquiring surveillance drones. According to the provincial Minister of Interior, Security and Justice, Tengelito, 3 out of the 24 municipalities of the city are concerned by these security tools. The members of the government of the city of Kinshasa quite simply declared that they will be available to the municipality concerned in a month's time in order to allow the mayors to have better visibility of the events in their municipalities.
Now in Eswatini, border blockades next week. Deputy International Secretary Zanele Matebula confirmed that COSATU would be joining in the border blockades and visual sessions where they would be discussing the issue of Eswatini demands and what exactly independence meant as they forged through the global pandemic of COVID-19 and as they struggled with socio-economic issues that were facing SADC in particular, Eswatini with the issues of poverty, unemployment and alleged police brutality among others. According to Matebula, they wanted the monarchy to understand that the people were asking for a different Eswatini and allow them to have a regime that would allow them to choose their own leaders while the monarchy existed separately.
In our next story, MPs want Majoro out. Prime Minister Moeketsi Majoro could face a boot after MPs filed a motion of no confidence against his government. The motion was filed by Basotho Patriotic Party leader Tefo Mapesela, who has been rallying against Majoro since he was fired from the cabinet. It was seconded by the Alliance Democrats backbencher Kose Makowa. Mampasela wants AD and former Deputy Minister Monyane Moleleki to replace Majoro. It is, however, not clear if his motion will have enough numbers to topple Majoro and his government. The numbers of the party's MP has been whittled in recent months due to incessant infighting that has triggered defections.
Now, in the last of our top stories, African tropical mountain forests store 2/3 more carbon than previously estimated. The study published in journal Nature 25 August 2021 found that tropical mountain forests in Africa store 149.4 megagrams of carbon per hectare, 2/3 more carbon than the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change estimates of average 89.3 megagrams of carbon per hectare. They found that over 0.8 million hectares were lost in Africa since 2001, with the Democratic Republic of the Congo amounting for the highest loss, followed by Uganda and Ethiopia. If deforestation continues in Africa at the current rate, a further 0.5 million hectares of these forests would be lost by 2030, the report warned. African tropical mountain forests are not only rich in carbon, but also offer habitat for many rare and endangered species and regulate local temperatures. All right, that brings us to the end of our top stories, but we have so much more for you right after the break. Now, Nuria Stromer is a project coordinator for natural resource management of the German development KfW. We spoke to her and found out what she's able to inform us about the Kavango Zambezi Transfrontier Conservation Area up in the northwest of Namibia. Now, let's have a look at the work of the KfW before we talk to Nuria herself.
The world's largest conservation area lies in southern Africa, the Kavango Zambezi, or KAZA for short. It extends over 5 countries and is bigger than Germany and Austria put together. It was formed 10 years ago with its core concept being that nature conservation knows no boundaries. Animals, especially elephants, can once again follow their ancient trails.
Before the establishment of this TFCA, the management of natural resources has been based on individual countries. But now that we have established CASA, we have joined as countries and we manage our shared natural resources together for the benefit of the 5 countries.
Above all, it's meant to help local communities benefit from tourism. That's the central aim of CASA, which is supported by the KfW on behalf of the German government.
CASA is not only about national parks, even though we are happy to have them. Our goal is to develop a general approach that benefits the people in the region.
On the border between Zambia and Zimbabwe, it works well. The Victoria Falls on the Zambezi River are a major tourist attraction with almost 2 million visitors every year. Financed by the KfW, this bridge over the Zambezi provides good access to an area 200 kilometers to the west that is destined to become a nature reserve. A park station near Sioma in Zambia has been financed. It's created jobs and housing for the game rangers' families. The locals moved their fields to make way for nature and the animals, because there's a real treasure in their region, the Ngonye Falls. Although they're still almost inaccessible, this is set to become a new tourist attraction. But the infrastructure is missing. Surfaced paths, scenic lookouts and lodges still need to be built. The locals here are poor and have no electricity or running water. But CASA representative Andrew Nambota helped them to see the tremendous potential that the waterfalls offered them.
We're looking at conservation as a way of alleviating poverty. It is possible to build a wildlife economy along with the communities and as a tool to fighting poverty.
The local representatives of the CASA countries as well as the tribal chiefs are the real drivers of the CASA vision of nature conservation as a source of income.
The income of tourism, when they come, they pay when they visit this area. When they pay, then the committee itself, they can sit and discuss how that money can use within the community to help poor ones and the infrastructure, the clinic and the schools as such.
No one may dictate to the community what should happen with the money.
Do not create something that is outside this world, but rather look at their strength as a community and try to develop those strengths. Don't bring, high tech to them. No. But rather, simple things that they can understand and they can easily do within their means.
Helping people to help themselves is the core approach of development cooperation. While the people in Western Zambia can hardly wait to get started, communities in the CASA neighboring country Namibia are already reaping the rewards. In the Caprivi Strip, the Mashi community has leased the land to a lodge and gets a share of the revenue. Jobs have been created too.
I'm happy to have this job because I'm providing my children, my mom, my grandmom and some of my families, and they are happy for me to get this job because I'm giving them whatever they need.
Nature has long been regarded as a worthwhile investment here.
Everyone learn now, starting from the villagers and everyone, children, even grown-up people. They know tourism is providing something very important. It's playing a good role in Namibia.
The original idea of conservancies was established by the WWF in the 90s and is supported by the KfW. Craftsmen don't sell their wares individually, but rather through the community. 60% of the revenue goes to the producer, 40% to the community.
The outcome is that if, for example, one producer produces very well that particular month, she can earn plus minus 2,000 per month, which is a very good high income to a women-headed household.
In a museum village, tourists can find out about local customs. The people here know what visitors to Africa want: local color and unspoiled nature. In Namibia, this all belongs to the communities.
Namibia is one of the countries that has the rights of people regarding natural resources safeguarded in the Article 95 of the Namibian Constitution.
The Namibian conservancies are an example to the other Khaza countries. The involvement of local populations will help ensure Khaza's future.
They live with this wildlife, and as much as they are involved in the management of natural resources and benefits, therefore, they will see the value of living with this wildlife and therefore the protection of this wildlife, and that in itself contribute to tourism development and benefits of the 5 countries.
For the 5 participating Khaza countries, the stunning landscapes and abundant wildlife between the Kavango and Zambezi rivers are the key to their economic advancement and political stability. There's even talk of this being a new dimension in nature conservation that could be adopted by the rest of the world.
Wow, truly amazing work. Love to see it. Now, good morning, Nuria, and welcome to Africa Good Morning. It's lovely to have you.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me.
KFW is one of the organizations that campaigned for and contributed towards the creation of the Kavango-Zambezi Transfrontier Conservation Area. How did that come about?
Yes, so looking at the development of the concept, actually economic and environmental development is very high on the national agenda of Namibia. And as you heard in the video, the conservation is also embedded in the constitution. And this goes back to a change in legislation where user rights were given to local communities to benefit from natural resources. And that is how the community-based natural resource management approach was born. And this entails that there's protection of natural resources, but at the same time also sustainable use of these resources to ensure that communities benefit and have an income, for example, through tourism. And this concept has been very successful and internationally also acclaimed and very convincing also for other governments around the world and also for the German government. So Germany and Namibia have a long-standing cooperation, and they actually share the same visions and values when it comes to nature conservation and its importance in generating income for communities in rural areas, for example. So the 2 governments started working together in this area of natural resource management around the beginning of the 2000s, and the German government through KfW is supporting nature conservation and specifically park management. And here it became clear that singular parks as standalone systems are less likely to be successful long term. And so this is when a landscape approach was developed, which really looks at a transnational network of core and buffer zones, but also migration routes and corridors for wildlife, because wildlife doesn't know borders. And and then the idea for Khaza was actually born and developed by Namibia.
Sorry about that. Sorry to interrupt you. I'm just about to ask you about Khaza, and I'm glad you mentioned the transnational project. Let me just get into it. Which area does the Khaza Park cover, and which animals are the main beneficiaries of this transnational project between the 5 countries of Angola, Botswana, Namibia, Zambia, and Zimbabwe? Please do continue.
Yes, thank you. So it's a huge area. It's almost as big as France. And the area also grew over the years. And here it's important to see that it's really a mixture of different usage systems. It really goes also beyond nature conservation. There are also parts of it that are for agriculture production, energy production, but it includes, of course, World Heritage Sites and Ramsar sites. And it's all about also regional integration and peace and cooperation between the countries and sustainable economic development. Key species that benefit from this conservation area are, for example, elephants, but also carnivores like lions, cheetahs, wild dogs, and also giraffes, for example, as another key species.
All right, what other projects of this type does KfW also support in Namibia?
Yes, so KfW is supporting quite a big portfolio in the natural resource management sector in Namibia. One of the flagship projects is actually looking at supporting the national parks in Namibia with infrastructure development, but also capacity development and park management plans. And with that comes also solid waste management and the protection of wildlife to really ensure that the parks are sustainably managed and provide a beautiful environment for humans and animals and also provide tourist attractions. Furthermore, communities and communal conservancies are supported through the Community Conservation Fund Namibia and also community forests.
All right, now how does KfW market the concept to Germany or in Europe, or are the above mentioned partner countries responsible for such a tourism call?
Yes, very much so. So the partners are actually in the lead when it comes to marketing and promoting the concept. But of course, KfW is supporting the partners with those initiatives. But as such, KfW doesn't focus on marketing, and the partners are very much in the lead here. However, KfW is reporting and presenting those programs to the German Parliament and also the Federal Ministry of Economic Development and Cooperation. And so this has been very convincing, and this is also the reason why Germany has donated additional 13 million euro for COVID mitigation measures to ensure the running of those conservation systems in a time of crisis while there's no income from tourism.
All right. Would you like to say anything in closing remarks?
Yes, so I think it's important to mention that CASA is really a huge area and usage conflicts are a reality. So there are challenges in aligning the different interests, perspectives, and development status and visions and goals of all these countries. And sometimes it's not as optimized and it's challenged, but it's important to know that this just takes time. And it really is also not just about nature conservation, as I mentioned earlier, but it's also about sustainable development, and it goes beyond nature conservation. And sometimes there are conflicts and compromises need to be made to really make use of the development potential of this area.
Thank you for that, and thank you for disseminating that important information.
Thank you.
All right, this is still Africa Good Morning, making sure you know everything happening with human beings and, of course, nature, because we must coexist. Yeah. And as she said, sustainability first. This is Africa Good Morning. Once again, we'll be back after the break.
They say Botswana is the land of tranquility, peace, and harmony, which is why we are excited to cross the border and talk to Boto, who has the news on the ground. Good morning, Boto. How are you?
Good morning, Aina. Good morning, Ashwin. I'm good. How are you?
All right. We understand Miss Botswana's best 30 contestants are unveiled. Please tell us more about this. I'm so excited. I love pageants, but go ahead, Boto.
Miss Botswana Committee had the pleasure to reveal results of what must have been an intense but mostly exciting couple of weeks. Miss Botswana Top 30 from 72 beautiful and lovely contestants. As for them to get to top 30, the judging panel, which comprised of music and fashion gurus, the reigning Miss Botswana 2019 and Miss Botswana 2010, who was also Miss World runner-up, they based our judging on 5 categories. They looked at posture, how the lovely ladies carry themselves. They looked at their confidence, whether the ladies had or rather spoke with conviction in the audition tapes and the short letters that they were asked to write. They looked at the articulation in terms of how they presented themselves in the tapes, creativity as well. They looked at the efforts that the ladies put in the videos to make themselves stand out. They also looked at the beauty, of course, which was subjective and different for all the judges. Going forth now, the public are now given the chance to vote for the favorite contestants to help them secure their space on the top 16 final stage, which will take place in October, and this will finally land them a space in the finale. Botswana had been eager to meet these lovely ladies. Yes.
No, we are certainly excited. Wow. Stunning, stunning African women.
Yes.
All right, in your other story, Makwala sharpens ahead of Olympics. Tell us about it.
Just after his exceptional race at the Tokyo Olympics 2020, Isaac Makwala has booked a place in the 200-meter race in the Wonder Diamonds League. So this final will take place on September the 9th in Zurich, Switzerland, and it will be showing on TV at 21:52, which is Central European Time. For him to land this place, he finished second in the Lausanne Diamond League, which was last week, with a time of 45.20. And to top this up, he got a 5th place finish in the Paris race, which of course does not affect his position in the final. If Makwala wins this, it will be a great deal for him, the Batman, as we call him here in Botswana. It will guarantee him a reasonable cash price of $30,000 if he gets first position, and $12,000 if he goes second, or $7,000 if he scores a third position, which I highly doubt, and I believe that the rest of the country will back me up on that one. A bonus for winning the race would be a wild card for the 2022 IAAF World Championship in the Oregon, USA. And this would see Makwala compete in the 200 meters and the 400 meters categories in the World Championships. This must be really exciting for him, and it is, of course, exciting for us as his supporters here back in Botswana.
Oh, we love to see it. I think surnames that start with MF, something magical about them. Makwala, Mboma, Masilingi, something's happening there.
I thought you were going to say Mberi
I
also.
am a humble man. Thank you very much, Boto, for bringing us the news from Botswana.
Thank you for having me.
All right, this is Africa. Good morning. We feel good. We certainly hope that the feeling can be carried over through the day with some beautiful weather. Fingers crossed. The forecast is up next. Now, WFP's head of programs, Elvis Odeke, talks about the activities of the organization, which has been present in Namibia since 1990. WFP's focus in Namibia has shifted from food aid to providing technical assistance to the government. The aim is to strengthen national capacities to end hunger by improving efficiency and effectiveness of food systems to include safety net programs such as school feeding and relief operations, and to enhance the government's capacity to assess, plan, and respond to food security needs. Let's have a look.
The urban poor have always, in many cases, been missed out in our programs. Oftentimes, when we talk about agriculture and how do we address the question of poverty and all that, it's mostly for the rural based. But the truth is, we do have urban poverty globally, in every country. And we should, in our plans, to the extent possible, try to ensure that we address that too. And poverty cuts across. The poor cut across. Solutions may vary, but we need to have all the spectrum of the people that are faced with food and nutrition security addressed. Children definitely at the forefront of our support. Children will continue to be a foundation of our future. The future of nations, therefore, has to give equal opportunity for children to attain a good education. And by so doing, address the key element, the key foundation of children to progress in their education is to feed well. Eat the right food, nutritious food, nourish your mind. With the mandate to save lives, and I'm talking about the World Food Program now, and the changing of lives and supporting governments to accelerate the journey towards zero hunger. At the United Nations World Food Program, whom I'm representing here today, is a strong advocate for homemade solutions to problems in order to address hunger, because we believe homemade solutions are sustainable. They can be sustained. How can we sustainably address the problem of food insecurity? Food availability, access, utilization of food. How do we do that, using practical solutions? The United Nations World Food Program and many other agencies, but at least for the United Nations, our main focus, as I mentioned, is the humanitarian response. And we are the largest humanitarian agency in the world. And in Namibia, we would like to use our skill, our knowledge, our capacity to support the governments address the issues of food and nutrition security. Our main role is providing technical assistance, mostly upstream, developing systems, policies, programs. How do we ensure that we have programs that are well mainstreamed with food and nutrition support elements? How do we train the governments to ensure that they're able to execute their programs? But we've been mostly upstream. And government says, okay, now, thank you for all this work, but the problem is down there. Is it possible for you to go down? We said, absolutely. So now we are now geared towards downstream support. Some of the programs include supporting the school feeding program, working with the Ministry of Education, strengthening early warning systems to address the whole issues of climate change, data collection with respect to food and nutrition security. We'll talk about the food systems briefly, but all these programs supporting the food bank with the Ministry of Gender Equality, Poverty Eradication, and then also working with the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change. So more broadly, this is what we do, but everything geared towards how do we improve food sustainability. How do we envisage, as a partner of the government, as a partner of the Rongo, moving forward? What should we do? Increase private sector engagement. Demonstrated today, the private sector has a critical role to play in the food systems. That goes without saying. And so we are increasingly advocating for this to happen in a structured manner. And the environment within which we work in Namibia, there is a very strong and enabling environment to ensure that we have the private sector engaged federally. Food systems. I don't know whether we've all heard about the Food System Summit that is due to take place in September. It's a global summit organized by the United Nations Secretary General. and all the 193 nations in the world are gearing towards the summit. They are planning for it. Now, the drive for the Secretary General and for the world is to question ourselves as to what is happening with our food systems. What is wrong with the way we're doing things? Because the food systems literally looks at the value chain. How is everybody able to access the seed, the technology? Are they able to do planting? Are they planting in the right soil? Are they able to produce? Are they able to store? Are they able to add value? Are you able to sell? Are you therefore able to consume? So the whole world is addressing this, and Namibia, with the support from the United Nations, is also sitting down to see how best we can develop and address the whole question of food systems. So that is going to be the thinking moving forward. And then probably lastly, the whole notion, which is true, one of the biggest challenges that we face in Namibia is that it is a dry country, and that is a fact. And therefore, that doesn't make us stop thinking. I was at the last presenting a paper to a group of students who are going to graduate from nutrition, and a couple of lecturers. But there was one lady who is a nutrition practitioner. When I mentioned that Namibia was a dry country, she was not convinced at all. She took me on and said, "What do you mean that Namibia is a dry country? What do you mean by that?" And she took me aback, and she's right. The reason why Manfred and Tim and Coca-Cola are coming up with this kind of solutions is actually to adapt to that environment. And therefore, the whole notion that it's a dry country needs to be looked at from a different perspective. How do we live with what we have? Now, I think to finish that loop, which also is part of the food system thinking, is how do we create sustainability through markets? And so one of the programs that we're doing with the government is to promote what we call the homegrown school feeding program. Essentially, which we've done in many countries in the world, establishing schools as part of the structured markets. In other words, through the school feeding program, instead of probably procuring food centrally, would empower the schools to buy food locally for the school feeding program. So schools will be buying mutete, they'll be buying fish. They'll be buying what the children eat at home. Do the children eat dried fish at home? Get dried fish at home. Bring it to school. Through farmers or through the traders. Do they eat mutete at school? Get it to school. Prepare it nicely so they're able to eat it at school. So we're going to have a pilot, working with the Ministry of Education, to see how best we can use schools as an entry point to create local economic stimulus, meaning that when the money gets into the school, it builds the economy around the school, and the money circulates and remains in the economy. And studies indicate that once you do that, you're able to almost double the money within a very short period.
Welcome back to Africa. Good morning. It's time for us to get into your economic news stories. And we start off in DRC, where President Felix Tshisekedi's vision on natural resources soon materialized in a directory. A national directory on renewable and non-renewable natural resources of the soil and subsoil abounding in the DRC is being drawn up to support Felix Tshisekedi's vision. It will allow the country to have reliable data on its natural potentials and the strategies for their exploitation and use to effectively contribute to its reconstruction and its sustainable, harmonious and balanced development, said the minister in charge of communication, Patrick Muyaya, spokesperson for the government. The DRC, which has a vast territory, will not fail to take advantage of this directory, which will establish for each natural resource its location, its commercial potential, its quality and content.
South Africa's rand extends gains as a dollar under pressure. South Africa's rand continued to strengthen on Thursday, with the US dollar still on the back foot as investors follow clues around when the Federal Reserve could start winding down its massive COVID-19 stimulus. The rand traded at 14.35 against the dollar, 0.35% stronger than its previous close. The rand has risen steadily over the past week as the greenback lost ground amid signals of Fed was in no rush to raise the interest.
Now, in the last of our economic news stories, Sun International receives 235 million rand business interruption payout, with more to come. JSE-listed hotel and resort group Sun International has settled a 500 million rand COVID-19 related business interruption insurance claim. Sun International CEO Anthony Leeming said on Monday the claim has been successfully concluded and settled for 5 of its operating units where the insurance claim exceeded the maximum insured loss. He said it is probably one of the largest business interruption insurance claims settled, but stressed that the group made a cash flow loss of about 3.5 billion rand over the 18-month period. Sun International significantly reduced its COVID-19 pandemic-induced loss in the 6 months to June 2021 and is optimistic about making a turnaround to a profit by the end of the year. All right, that brings us to the end of our economic news stories. Before your sport, check out the economic indicators. Welcome back to Africa. Good morning. As promised, it's time to get your sports update from Ari Hochad in South Africa. Good morning, Ari. How are you?
Yes, good morning, Ashwin. Yes, great sporting weekends await us, and I'll start off with some soccer news, some football news. It is Qatar 2022 that's happening next year. World Cup soccer coming up again, but 210 countries trying to qualify for this elite tournament. Some of the results coming in. Portugal on Wednesday beat the Republic of Ireland by 2-1. And significant there was Ronaldo, Cristiano Ronaldo, that scored the 111th goal for his country. And that is a new world record, the men's leading goal scorer of all time. 111 goals, a great achievement by Ronaldo. And he will also wear the number 7 jersey for Manchester United when he starts playing for them, the same jersey that David Beckham wears. Some other results yesterday, Kenya beat Uganda 0-0, and Namibia and Congo drew their game 1-1 last night. That was Namibia's first game there. They're going to play on Sunday again against Togo. And a big game today will be Zimbabwe that face South Africa, the neighbors. That game is going to be played in Harare, and Mauritius play Zambia. Now on to some US tennis open news. It's the US Open tennis, always a big tournament on the calendar. In the men's section, South African Lloyd Harris still in the tournament. He beat Ernesto Escobar of the USA in 3 sets. A tough third round game awaits for Lloyd Harris. He needs to play 7th seed Denis Shapovalov of Canada. And all the top seeds still in the running there. Novak Djokovic, Alexander Zverev, and Stefanos Tsitsipas. They all went through and they're going to play in the third round. That is Stefanos Tsitsipas of Greece, one of the early favorites to win the men's section. And in the ladies' draw, it is Ashley Barty, the number 1 seed. She's comfortably also through to the third round. She beat Clara Tauson of Denmark in 2 sets. And one surprise maybe was Sloane Stephens that beat Coco Gauff in 2 sets. Coco Gauff, one of the young sensations in tennis, she's out unfortunately. And Naomi Osaka also still in the tournament. On to some Formula One racing news, and it is the Dutch Grand Prix on Sunday. Lots of spice in the Formula One Grand Prix at the moment, especially the rivalry between Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen, and more so the rivalry between Mercedes-Benz and the Red Bull Racing that is powered by Honda. So at the moment, Lewis Hamilton leads the standings on 202.5 points, and Max Verstappen just 3 points behind him, 199.5. And constructors, Mercedes-Benz 310 points, and Red Bull 303. So a close race. The Dutch Grand Prix, it's going to be a bit of a new experience for all of them. It's the first time since 1985 that the Dutch Grand Prix will take place on Sunday. And then some golf news. It is a big tournament on the US PGA tournament that's being played. It's the Tour Championship. It's the leading 30 players on the PGA, the FedEx standings that play. They get scores allocated according to their ranking, FedEx ranking. So Patrick Cantley started with a score of -10. He played 3 under par yesterday for a total of -13. John Rahm started on -6. He played -5 for a total of -11. And South African interest, Louis Oosthuizen, he is on -5 total. He started off with -3 and he played 2 under par last night or yesterday. And then just quickly to close off some cricket news, India is still touring in England. It was the 4th test, first day yesterday that started. That's at the Kensington Oval. India batted first, 191 in the first innings, and England overnight 53 for 3. And then in 50 overs, one-day international, the Proteas lost against Sri Lanka last night or yesterday. Sri Lanka won by 14 runs. And then in the T20, Zimbabwe playing Ireland, and it was Ireland too strong for Zimbabwe there. It was Ireland that won the 4th T20 international by 64 runs, and they lead the series by 3-1. And tomorrow will be the 5th game in that series for Zimbabwe. So that's all the sport news around the globe. Hope that your favorite team is doing well this weekend. And we'll talk again on Monday with all the sporting results from the weekend. Bye-bye.
All right, thank you very much, Ari. Now, there's a Shona chant which goes, Yawe nyama yekugocha. This is meat for the braai. That's how I feel about Zimbabwe Warriors facing Bafana Bafana today. This is Africa Good Morning. After the break, your headlines. Every weekday, Africa Good Morning streams to you live from 7 a.m., bringing you news and current affairs from the SADC region and beyond. Now, if you missed today's top stories, here are some of the headlines. Outcry in Ivory Coast over televised rape demonstration. 3 people beheaded in northern Mozambique. DRC, 4 killed in attack attributed to rebel group. WHO says no evidence Ivory Coast patient had Ebola. Felix Tshisekedi's vision on natural resources soon materialized in a directory. And in sports, the Qatar 2022 World Cup qualifying games started yesterday, with several games being played over the next few days. Those have been our stories.
Thank you very much for joining us on the Friday edition of Africa Good Morning. We are back again on your screens on Monday. We do welcome your remarks regarding our show. You can email them to us. Our email is agm_2centsworth@nmh.com.na. Alternatively, we are on Facebook and Twitter. It's at Africa Good Morning. We also encourage you to visit our website. It's called One Up 2 for more content. On that note, do not forget to get vaccinated, wear your mask, and avoid unnecessary public gatherings. It's all our love, all our light.
And remember, Chikuru Kufema, the most important thing to do is to breathe. See you Monday.